The aftermath of Charlie Kirk's life being taken is rippled into a tsunami. And not only are we seeing left-wing radical Democrats being fired from their jobs, we're also seeing it touch now the Hollywood elite. You see, what happened is Jimmy Kimmel, who is unfunny, who has low ratings, decided that he was going to take to his platform, his show, and he was going to spew more propaganda and lies. And the lies that he spewed were so ugly that even left-wing radical ABC Disney had to take action. And you know why they took action? Because Nexstar, which is one of their big affiliates, and another one that's even bigger than Nexstar, said, hey, listen, based on what Jimmy Kimmel said, we're no longer even going to allow his show to play on any of our networks. And that went straight to Disney. So Disney had their bigger parent companies, the ones that actually air the show where they get their money from, saying, no, what he did was gross. We don't even want to do business with Jimmy Kimmel at all. That forced Disney to say, oh, really? This is what's happening because of him? He's fired. Now, the left-wing lamestream media wants you to believe that he was let go over free speech. But as we go through this video, I'm going to show you clips not only of what he said, but the backlash that he got. And I believe you're smart enough to know Jimmy Kimmel wasn't just fired for what he said. It was ugly. It caused a backlash. And yes, it prompted him being fired. But please know this, with as rapidly as Disney decided to part ways with him, he was a money pit. He was losing money. He has like a $40-50 million a year salary, allegedly. The show's ratings have plummeted. It's not even funny. Jimmy Kimmel has been nothing more than an extension of the left-wing radical Democrat Party's propaganda arm. That's all he's there for. That's why they're losing their mind that Stephen Colbert, gone. Now, Jimmy Kimmel, gone. There's only one left in late-night talk show host, and that's Jimmy Fallon. Now, Jimmy Fallon's kind of the less radical out of all of them, but let's check out what Jimmy Kimmel had to say that caused such an uproar and caused him to lose his job. Check this out right here.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is.
Now, you heard what he said. The MAGA gang trying to score political points with this kid who da-da-da. No, that's a flat out lie. The governor of Utah, the police chief of Utah, even the parents of Tyler Robinson knows he was radicalized. His transgender boyfriend has come out and admitted he is radicalized. But for Jimmy Fallon to go on TV and to still remotely act like this individual was a part of MAGA, represented MAGA, is the reason why he's being fired. But it's not the main reason. You and I both know we've seen some Hollywood people like Robert De Niro, Stephen King, do and say some of the grossest stuff. And all of the propaganda that happens at these award shows where they do demonic rituals, nobody's getting fired. But what it was with Jimmy Kimmel, his salary is bloated, his ratings are low, the advertisers aren't spending the money anymore, and they were just looking for a reason to part ways with him without facing a lawsuit. And he gave it to him through his left-wing propaganda partisanship on his show, spewing lies. Now, that's what Jimmy Kimmel had to say. Now, let's look at what President Trump had to say in the wake of him being let go. As you can see, President Trump said, great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. So let's just be real. Now, you're going to hear left-wing radicals saying, oh, Trump had nothing to do with this. There was no executive order. Trump didn't reach out to ABC or Disney. Their affiliates did, though. That's what prompted this whole thing. When Nexstar initially said, whoa, that was ugly. Nope, we're not airing his show on our networks. And then another big company said the same thing that's even bigger than Nexstar. And as a matter of fact, you know what they're feeling in Jimmy Kimmel's space on Friday night? A tribute to Charlie Kirk. Because even they don't want to be affiliated with this type of ugly radicalism. And see, right now, we're at a point where the Democrat Party, they're getting what they started. Remember when cancel culture, they were all about cancel culture. You couldn't say anything about illegal immigrants. You couldn't say anything about trans. They were getting people canceled. They were firing people. You remember when Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage by a left-wing radical. And they love to bring up this whataboutism on both sides. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, home was firebombed, left-wing radical. Those two politicians in Minnesota that they love to bring up. Well, what about the attacks on Democrats? That was a Tim Walz appointee who also said, allegedly, that Tim Walz also wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar, the Democrat senator from Minnesota. The school shootings that we've seen as of late. transgender radicals. But they want you to believe it's whataboutism. Now, in this video, the FCC chairman sat down with Benny Johnson. And the FCC is who regulates the networks, the airwaves, these shows. Listen to what he had to say, and it helps explain why the action was taken that was. Check this clip out.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person.
If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it really does help get the information in the video out there. And if you are subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're subscribed already or subscribing now, make sure you hit the notification bell and select all. YouTube is having issues with notifications, but when you select all, YouTube will make sure you get notified when I upload new videos. So as you see, the FCC chairman is all over it where they like, look, we're done with this. And a lot of people have been saying, how can The View, how can Jimmy Kimmel, how can these shows get on there and continue to lie, continue to spew hatred, continue to say the things that they have without any backlash? Well, guess what? The Trump administration couldn't come out with full, what's blazing, because then they'd try to say, oh, being a dictator. But we have to level the playing field out. The mainstream media, legacy media, is dominated by left-wing radicals. NPR had 0 Republicans on staff. Let's look at CNN. Scott Jennings is the lone conservative that they have against 5 and 6 liberal guests every single night. And guess what? Scott Jennings takes it to him every single time. And let's not even get into MSDNC, which is nothing more than a radical left-wing extremist arm, propaganda arm. They're not even a news network. They're an opinionated network. Literally, they don't report news. They just give opinions all day. Really think about it. So there's opinion journalism, and then there's journalism. MSDNC is opinionated journalism, which means that forget what the facts are. I can spew my opinion, and that's just good enough because I feel it's newsworthy. And speaking of Scott Jennings, let's listen in as he takes it to CNN again on the heels of Jimmy Kimmel being fired. Check this out.
Scott, but I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know here. You sometimes offend people. I hear about it on the socials. Do you think that you should then be held to the same standard that you're asking for, that if someone says that you're offensive, that you're not doing the civic discourse, that CNN should kick you off? I'm not worried about you and that happening to you in the present regime, but I am worried about other people in this building.
Two things. We don't fall under the same statutory regime. A. B. I expect to get fired every day. This is a tough business. And if I were Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, I'm surprised that a guy who once wore blackface and caused large-breasted women to jump on trampolines lasted this long in the media business to begin with. He was long past his sell date. And the fact that he couldn't realize that and was going down this road of partisan hackery, being unfunny and demonized.
You ever notice that whenever Scott Jennings get going, Abby Phillips and them always want to cut Scott off. Scott, stop. But they'll let every single deranged Democrat on that show spew all the BS they want. And Abby Phillips, she's a dunce. The only reason she probably got that show because she looks like a black Barbie doll. That's it. She has no factual basis for any of the data. She's not highly intelligent, it doesn't seem like. She's one of these Ivy League Harvard graduates that just spews out whatever she's told. She reads whatever they put on the teleprompter. She has no independent thought. Even when she's speaking, notice, when she's speaking, rather than speaking and looking to the person that she's directly speaking to, she scans around to see if she's getting approval from everybody in the group. I can't stand it when somebody's talking to me about something I said, but while they're addressing me, they're turning around to look at other people while they're saying stuff, seeing if they're agreeing. What difference does it make if they agree or not? Do you believe it? If so, stand on it. And it shouldn't matter what they have to say, especially if you're coming from a place of truth, but they're not. They're coming from a place of lies and BS. Now, let's check out this clip here where my main man, Jesse Waters, is going to really break down what's going on with Jimmy Kimmel. You get a kick out of this. Check this out.
Right. It's not illegal to say Charlie deserved to die and you're glad he did. They have a right to say that. But we have a right to fire you. You can't walk into the office and say you're into homicide. You can't work at CNN and tweet, I'm comfortable with cold-blooded murder. More people need to be killed. Speech is free, but you're not free from the consequences. If you're glad Charlie's dead and thought he had it coming, I'm supposed to sit next to you in the break room? You're going to teach my kid at school or serve in government? And I'm supposed to just say, free speech. You're advertising that you're a maniac and that you have no decency, compassion, or humanity.
I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, Chapter. And here's why. When my mom hit 65 years old, I watched her get bombarded with mailers, cold calls, and all these confusing ads about Medicare. And every single company pretended like they wanted to help her, but really they were just trying to sell her stuff. It seemed like the game was rigged and she was not supposed to win at all. And that's why I'm so excited to share information about Chapter with all of you. Now, who Chapter is? Chapter is a free Medicare advisory service that compares Medicare plans available, and they give you real, unbiased guidance. Chapter is completely independent and always puts customers first. As a matter of fact, at Chapter, the agents are salaried employees, so you don't have any fear or concerns of them trying to work to get commission of some kind. Their whole focus is all about making sure that their customers, the seniors, get the right Medicare supplement plan. And it's clear that they're making a real difference in the lives of seniors. So if you want real, unbiased help with Medicare, give Chapter a call at 402-527-1253. You'll talk to a real person who will help you figure out exactly which plan is right for you. Now, Chapter is totally free and has saved the average senior $1,000 a year. So I'm going to put the number here on the screen for you to be able to contact, or if you visit the website, go to askchapter.org/realpolitics.
That you're indifferent to death. And not just indifferent, you're sickly gleeful. That makes you a threat. That makes you dangerous. It makes you a beast. And what do we do with beasts? We leave them out in the wild. We have to be very careful about the kind of people we associate with. They aren't entitled to work for us. And these people, sadly, are everywhere. This is more than just a disagreement over the border or crime or politics. We're talking about murder. Would CNN be okay if their producer said, that girl that got raped, she had it coming? Of course not. Or the Ukrainian refugee stabbed to death on a train, Irina, deserved to die. Those floods in Texas, that's karma. Hope you can swim. Never. And we're not saying these people should be put in prison. We're saying they're not walking into my office.
Even though he did bring up the Texas, do you remember during the Texas floods, there were really Democrats and radical leftists saying that that was what they got because they were trying to get rid of illegal immigrants? They did that.
I'm not letting them hang around my family. I don't want to be anywhere near them.
Good way to go, Jesse. So let's go back here. So Jimmy Kimmel yanked off the air. Let's see exactly what was going on. Jimmy Kimmel's late night U.S. show has been pulled after 22 years following offensive comments about Charlie Kirk's death, where the host repeated the falsehood that the suspected killer is from the MAGA gang. The Telegraph has more. Disney's ABC said it would take Jimmy Kimmel Live off air indefinitely after Nexstar Media, one of the biggest owners of television stations in the U.S., said it would no longer broadcast the show on local stations. Kimmel, who has been on air for over 22 years, said that a MAGA gang was trying to score political points from Kirk's unaliving, sparking a backlash from conservatives who accused the comedian of being tone deaf. Donald Trump, currently in London for a state visit, hailed the show's cancellation as great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled, the U.S. president, who has frequently been the target of Mr. Kimmel jokes, said on Truth Social. And then we saw what he had said. The killing has sparked a wave of anxiety about increasing political violence in America, with Mr. Trump blaming the radical left. Critics have accused the president of using Kirk's assassination as a pretext to crack down on political opponents. Responding to the reaction in the aftermath of the shooting, Kimmel said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize the kid who took Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them doing everything they can to score political points from it." He then mocked Mr. Trump's reaction to the tragedy, in which the U.S. president responded to a question about how he was holding up by saying very good before providing an update on the White House ballroom's construction. Several public figures jumped to Kimmel's defense. Ben Stiller, oh wow, a radical leftist who was also canceled by his own group. Ben Stiller, the actor and filmmaker who wrote on X, "This isn't right," alongside news about the cancellation. Remember, he was one of the ones that was white guys for Harris. And Ben Stiller, when he went on and said all Jews wish they were black, and the left went insane on him and attacked him and canceled him. Yeah, that same Ben Stiller. American author Joyce Carol Oates said it was sad that a host will be abruptly fired for anything he says, however awkward and inappropriate. Well, when you're on FCC airwaves and you're lying, you're blatantly lying, spewing propaganda, yeah, that'll get you thrown off. But you see how these leftists think? If a joke is in poor taste or falls flat, the audience's silence is punishment enough for the comic, Oates wrote. Certainly it's free speech for me, censorship for you. Whatever your politics, that is irrefutable. California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, accused the Republican Party of dangerous coordinated attack on free speech and warned Americans they are censoring you in real time. Now, this coming from the party that when they had control of Twitter was canceling accounts, was banning people, was shadow banning people. If you didn't agree with putting a jab in your body, you were gone. If you didn't agree with children getting their bodies mutilated, you were gone. If you didn't agree with open borders, you were gone. But it's funny how the Democrats, whenever they get punched back in the face, they love to cry foul. You ever notice they do that every time? When they get a dose of their own medicine, they cry foul. Mr. Newsom listed buying and controlling media platforms, firing commentators, and canceling shows as examples. These aren't coincidences. These folks are a joke. So I just wanted to jump on here today and give you the great news that Jimmy Kimmel's radical, hateful, left-spewing propaganda self has been fired and is good riddance to bad rubbish. So if you stayed and you watched it up to this point, I want to say thank you so much from the top and bottom of my heart. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.